Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag faces up to a transfer nightmare scenario with a transfer budget as low as £100 million being reported. You're basically broke. You're basically broke with a transfer budget like that. I mean, that's the transfer budget of a lower half Premier League club. In the modern day, it's terrible. So how much truth do we think is in that? What can you do with that? How do you progress with that? What's the motivation with a transfer budget like that? We'll get into that. Lots to get into. A very interesting interview that Adam did this afternoon with Mark Ogden. If you've not seen it, I want to pick up on a few other bits from that as well. I think the Spurs thing's been taken out of context, that Qatar will buy Spurs. It's the same thing that I said. If Man United miss out on Qatar, they probably will buy somebody else, and Spurs looks like a good proposition. But there's plenty of reasons why that wouldn't happen. Yeah, we can talk about that. Also want to talk about the centre-back situation. I saw Rio saying that we should go for a young centre-back. Disagree with that. Some of you might agree with that. But I've also seen people saying that if we buy Kim Min-jae, Varane goes straight to the bench. I'd like to get into that debate. I disagree with it, but I think it's a good debate and I like that sort of thing. Also, a bit of a... You could describe this as anti-PR towards Qatar, really. So there's a story in, I think it's in The Sun, saying that Sheikh Jassim would like to bring Neymar to Manchester United if he buys the club. I mean, that's negative spin, isn't it? Because I don't think there's many Man United fans that would want Neymar at Manchester United. And also, Manu Kone has been linked to us, which is good, but only if we don't get Rabiot, according to European reports. So we'll talk about that as well. And if you're interested in the tour, Manchester United have announced another date today. They'll play Lyon in Edinburgh on the 19th of July. So the tour is starting to take shape, and it's a very intensive tour. We'll go through just how close those dates are and all the travelling. It's basically Ten Hag's plan: fly in, play a game, leave, fly somewhere else. They're not going to be any open training sessions, I think, in these stays. It's going to be very, very quick in and out. Oh, pardon. Anyway, Mark, Eric Garcia from Barcelona is available in the summer, says Marek. Thank you very much. So am I. But before we get into all of that, we're sponsored by Manscaped on the show. You know about Manscaped by now, but have you got yourself some manscaping? This is the Lawnmower 4.0. What a piece of precision engineering is. It feels so great in the hand as well. It's got a light for a more precise shave. It's waterproof, a 4,000 RPM engine, electromagnetic induction charging port, so you just drop it in, take it out. There's no wires. 20% off and free worldwide shipping. What does it do, people are saying? Well, it trims your balls. You know, trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Your balls will thank you. Trust me, it's a fantastic thing, especially with the summer coming. It takes a lot of weight off, makes everything look a lot better. Fantastic product, the best you can get. Manscaped, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code United Stand. But also you can get the lawnmowers, the weed whacker. Goes up your nose. Goes up your nose for a purpose if you've got nasal hair. Really good. Got a few, not as many. Sometimes you go up there and it sounds like you're trimming the grass outside with a strimmer. You can get that as part of the performance package or individually as well. Little wonder that is. 20% off, free worldwide shipping, whatever you get. Links in the description. And let's have a gander, says UK. I don't want to destroy the rest of your lives. And also, you know, I don't do OnlyFans anyway. Let's go. Let's get ready to go. Big shout out to Manscaped. So let's fly straight into this. So Mark Ogden was talking about it this afternoon, ESPN journalist. We've heard it from a few other places as well. Manchester United's transfer budget as it stands could be as low as £100 million, supplemented by sales. This is not a surprise to me. I look at the chat. Obviously, I'm not doing a watch-along. I mean, look, are you absolutely thick? It's 12 minutes past 8 and the game kicked off at 8 o'clock. What are you writing watch-along for? Get back to school and learn. Clearly, I'm not doing. I never said I was doing that watch along. I'm doing the United Stand at 8 o'clock. I'm not doing a bloody watch along. So, hashtag deal with it. I'm not Milan Derby. Boring. Don't want to watch it. I'll watch tomorrow night. Not doing that. Anyway, back to something I do want to talk about. It just amazes me at times how thick people are. Watch along. What happened to the watch along, Mark? It's 12 minutes past 8. I'm not bloody doing one, am I? Screw your head on. Bloody hell. I didn't say I was going to do it. I said on Sunday I was going to do it, and last night I said I wasn't doing it. So watch my content, you might figure it out. I'm not being grumpy, I just think people are stupid. Anyway, if you want to go and watch it, it's on the telly. If you want to talk about United with me, watch United with me. I want to do this. I'll do what I want to do. United stand takes preference over the Milan derby. Sorry. Hi, Mark. Show in Edinburgh for the Lyon friendly. We might be working on that, Ross. We might work on that. Anyway, let me go back to what I want to talk about. The reality is Manchester United could be operating with a budget of £100 million this summer. It's not the first time I've heard it. It shouldn't be the first time you've heard it. Effectively, United do not have a lot of money under the current regime. This is why they're for sale. And of course, the transfer window is going to open before that sale even happens. So Manchester United at the moment, categorically, are dealing with a transfer budget of £100 million. They can supplement that with sales, but here's the kicker. People are going, I've seen people today going, well, all right, 100 million, sell Maguire for 40, sell Dean Henderson for 25, that's 165, sell McTominay or someone else for 30, you've got 200 million. You're right, but you're wrong. You cannot supplement that £100 million transfer budget because they can't sanction any sales until the new owner comes in. So, look, it's a tiny budget at the end of the day. And this is where Ten Hag's frustration comes from, which I was talking about this morning. It's not enough. It's just quite simply not enough. But it's not a surprise. Last summer, Richard Arnold said to the fans in the pub, we're all right this summer, but next summer's going to be a challenge. We saw in January, there was no money. Some people thought it was because, they're waiting to sell the club. There wasn't any money. That was the bottom line. It wasn't just because they wanted to sell the club. There wasn't any money in January either. There was nothing there. We are broke, essentially, when it comes to progression under the current regime. This sale needs to happen to influence the building of a new stadium, the restructuring of the current stadium, the infrastructure of the club, the transfer budget. This is why we need it, and we haven't got it. I'm afraid we could lose Erik Ten Hag if this keeps up. Well, it's early days for that, Bezad. I don't agree with that. Tumbleweed, thank you for gifting a membership as well. But look, what would £100 million do? It would probably get you Harry Kane. It would probably, and that's it. If our budget's as low as £100 million, and there's always a big if, I'll tell you what my opinion is in a minute, but we're dealing with the story. If our budget is as low as £100 million, then we're in big trouble. I mean, that's probably why we're looking at Rabiot. That's probably why we're doing that. If our budget's as low as £100 million, I think it's going to be a long, cruel summer because it's going to be, trying to raise money by selling people. That's going to take time. It's going to be, buying players that other clubs don't want because we're going to be doing it later on in the window. I think it's going to be a very challenging transfer window for Manchester United if that budget is as low as that. And it feels like it could... It feels like it... Well, it doesn't feel like it is. It is. I don't see anybody in the chat saying, it's not, it's more than that, because ultimately we all know who's in charge of the football club at the moment. The Glazers, they haven't got any money. They don't want to spend any money because they're trying to do some deal to either stay or go. So our budget is probably £100 million. Sir Alex Ferguson era, hats off to him bringing success to the club with those idiots, says Mustafa. Different time as well. Sir Alex would have struggled to compete against everybody now because of the budgets they've got. What are the odds we qualify for the Champions League with only a £100 million budget, says Brandon. And Mark, Kim Min-jae has to do army service from June to July. This could affect his season and pre-season, says Danny Doritos. Well, I want to talk about Kim Min-jae in a bit because I think people are running away on that deal, and actually there's nothing going on at the moment. It's just, interest, as we've said before. We said this last night and then it came out confirmed today. The Man United table is too expensive for the Glazers to play at, says Tim Collins. That would make sense of the Rabiot rumours, says Liam Whitehouse. And what's all this about Saudis buy Spurs if they can't get United? Could you be more wrong, Air Mats? We're not trying to be bought by the Saudis. It's Qatar. And yeah, it was a throwaway comment, which I'll clarify in a minute. Ajani says, with that budget, we can only do free agents. Look, Aston Villa are operating with a budget between 150 and 200 million pounds this summer. Chelsea will. Arsenal will. I don't know what Spurs will do. They're irrelevant. Liverpool will. If our budget is 100 million pounds... Look, it reminds me a little bit of if the Glazers were staying, it reminds me a lot of Jose Mourinho's sacking, when he finished second, we needed to build and we didn't build and everybody else did, and then he was sacked by Christmas. I'm not saying that's where Ten Hag is going to end up, but it does feel a little bit like that, where you do something that's, impressive, and then there's no money there to go and build on it. And one thing's for certain, if you stand still in this league, you decline. And £100 million would be a standstill. I think £100 million is the equivalent of spending nothing 12 years ago. That's how I feel football's moved on. There were times where clubs didn't spend anything in the summer. I think now that's the equivalent of spending 100 million, because 100 million doesn't get you very much. You're just treading water with that. You've got to go beyond that. I think every summer now, if you're a top 4 club, you've got to be spending £200 million. That's what you've got to do. Unless you're the team at the top and you've already got an amazing squad and you're just adding Erling Haaland on the top. But then again, even last summer, Manchester City spent, over 150 million. I know they sold a few as well, but they're only topping up what they've got. What can we really do about the Glazers? They don't care what we think. It's sad but true, says Runa. I think the most damaging thing, and here's an angle I don't know what you think about, but as much as Thani and Qatar want Manchester United, and as much as Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants Manchester United, I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe must be, what is his thought process as a Manchester United fan? I don't know why I'm doing that, because he is a Man United fan. As a Manchester United fan, surely Sir Jim Ratcliffe is sat there the same as you, going, that budget's crap. We're going to go backwards here. And even if he knows he's going to do a deal with the Glazers, he must be frustrated, saying, "Can we get on with it? Because we need to make waves in this transfer window. I'm going to take over this club, keeping the Glazers. That's already got me on the back foot with the fans. If I have a bad summer transfer window and we regress next season, it's a dangerous one for Sir Jim, is what I'm trying to say. If he's going to get hold of the club, he needs to get hold of it now so that it can make an impact on the transfer window, because there's going to be a lot of fans that don't want him from the start. And the only way he's going to turn those fans around is by being successful. But if he has a crap summer transfer window because the Glazers are taking too long, that's going to make him even less popular. And once you're not popular, it's very hard to become popular again, isn't it? So I'm surprised. I'd be very surprised if there's not a lot of moaning coming from the Sir Jim Ratcliffe camp as well, because he is being impacted by this as much as Sheikh Jassim, because he can't make an impact on the transfer window when they haven't made a decision on where it's going to happen. I personally, I don't know what's happening with the Sir Jim Ratcliffe bid or the Qatar bid, but if I was Sir Jim, I would be ringing them up in the Rain Group and saying, you know what, at some point we're going to withdraw this offer, because I'm keeping them here anyway with 20%. I've got this New York Stock Exchange. I'm not going to be Mr. Popular as it is. I need to crack on with this summer transfer window, and I haven't got hold of the bloody club yet. Can they move their arse? Because ultimately this is going to be bloody business suicide for me if I buy this club in August and you've messed the transfer window up and then next season goes wrong. It's going to be a bloody mess. I've seen reports saying that Ten Hag is ready to leave the club if sale budget transfer issues not resolved. To be honest, he should leave, in my opinion. Club's going to tarnish his name. I've not heard one report about that, Stuart, and I would file it in the bullshit drawer. I've not heard anything about that, and I don't think that's true, and I don't think Erik Ten Hag... I don't think there's even 1% of Erik Ten Hag that wants to leave Manchester United. He's an obsessive. He's had a really good season. He will not leave. There is no way that's going to happen. But I do think if this time next year he goes backwards because the club holds him back, I think that's when he'll start looking at it and going, look, you know what, I'm being inconvenienced here. Because Erik Ten Hag has shown the club and he's shown the world he can be successful. But you've got to give him the platform to do it. If our sights are set on not on catching City, there is no point in buying anyone. Qatar is our only chance of getting out of this black hole, says Lee. And Danny Doritos says, I think it would at least take 500 million to build a first team and decent players for covering, excluding the bloody stadium. Glazers out, we are doomed, says Danny. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know what people think you can do with a £100 million transfer budget. In fairness to Mark Ogden, he's been right before. I remember a couple of years ago, he said something about 100 million, and that was ultimately what we ended up spending. So he has been right before. I can't remember what year it was. But logically, he's not wrong, because we're owned by the Glazers exclusively. And while they're in charge, that won't be a big budget. What I would just add my opinion here, and I would say, if somebody said to me, let's pretend Deasy said, Goldbridge, what do you think we'll spend in the summer? My honest opinion, without scaremongering, is I think we will spend about 200 about 200 million pounds. But I think we'll have a new owner in, and that's why it'll happen. If the Glazers are still in charge, I think it's 100 million, but I don't think the Glazers will be in charge for all of the summer transfer window. I think 100% they are damaging the summer transfer window. That can't be in doubt when we're only 2 weeks from the end of June. I mean, literally 2 weeks today. It's the 30th of May. But I think it will get resolved. But I think it's damaging us. I think it. But going what to Danny said there. Gut feeling who will win the bidding process as Quinn. I don't know, mate. My fear is it's going to be Sir Jim. I think that's just that's a fear for some people, of course. But I don't actually. I've been 50-50 for quite a while now, which is dangerous, of course. But I am 50-50 on it. I know what most people want, but I'm 50-50 on it. But look, going back to what Danny said, how much money do you think it will take for Manchester United to compete? Well, even if our budget's 200 million, it's not enough. I think this has to be, progressive each season, because it's. I think you need about £500 million to add the 3 or 4 first team players and then start building your bench out as well. Apparently, there's a bit of breaking news coming in here, so let's just have a quick look. No, there's not. You cheeky gets. If Jim buys us, then I truly believe Manchester United will close down and it will turn into a Manchester United history museum, says Tom. And can you see a Chelsea-like chaotic transfer window where we panic buy several players because all targets end up going elsewhere? Well, yeah, I think that's my biggest fear, the beast, is that it's a little bit like Christmas shopping, isn't it? Some people start doing their Christmas shopping in the summer, bit weird, but logical people start doing it in November and early December. Panic buyers do it in the last week. Prats do it on Christmas Eve. I've been that prat. You're running around grabbing what you can. You're not organised. If we're doing that, it's a worse transfer window than it could be. If Radcliffe is doing a deal with the Glazers, clearly he doesn't care about the club. Businessmen at the end of the day, investment and profit is king, says Paolo. Thank you very much. Okay, let me just check. Apparently there is some breaking news. He's just not put it on his own Twitter here. So it's coming in from Mike Keegan. Let me have a look. Okay, so Sheikh Jazim submits final take it or leave it offer for Manchester United. Right, okay, let's dive into this. Let me break this down. This is nice to have a little bit of breaking news here. So let's go with it. I'm going to read this out to you because it is live. And it is coming in from Mike Keegan. So, look, what I would say about that is, I wouldn't say he's been a journalist that I would always go, oh, he's brilliant for transfer news. But I must admit, he's been really good. So let me just type this in. Okay, so we've got this coming in from Mike Keegan, who, as I say, has been very good around the sale of Manchester United. This is what he's saying. The Qatari billionaire who wants to buy Manchester United has made an extraordinary 11th hour take it or leave it offer for the club. Mail Sport understands that in a seismic development, Sheikh Jazim bin Hamad Al Thani has submitted a final improved bid in an attempt to see off competition from rivals Sir Jim Radcliffe and conclude a deal for the total ownership of the Premier League. So this is what a lot of you wanted. So this is really interesting because this is the rumour that we would from outlets that we weren't too sure about. So the fact that Mike Keegan is saying this, and look, what I would say about Mike Keegan is this is only my opinion, and it might be shared by you. I think he's close to the way he's reported. I think his source is closer to Al Thani than it is to Sir Jim. Just the way he's... Look, I might be completely wrong, but in my experience, you can sort of sometimes get a feel for where their source is. and I feel that his source is closer to Al Thani. So what he's basically saying is, and this is breaking news in the last 8 minutes, Qatari billionaire Sheikh Jassim Al Thani has made an extraordinary 11th hour take it or leave it offer for the club. It's a seismic development, Mail Sport understands, and it's an improved bid in an attempt to see off competition from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It had appeared that the British petrochemicals billionaire Ratcliffe was in a stronger position, while his offer was not for 100% but to retain the Glazers, a stake in the club. It was hoped that a preferred bidder would be chosen last week, with the clock ticking to the opening of the transfer window and United's squad in need of strengthening, but talks have been ongoing, and earlier today Sheikh Jassim made a further move in a last-ditch attempt to seize control of the club. The Qatari's offer is believed to be significantly improved on his first, although it is still thought to value it at Man United at a lower price than Radcliffe. However, Sheikh Jassim's bid is for total control, with the fee to be paid now. It would instantly clear the club's debt, which at the last count was around 536 million. The offer also contains the promise of significant investment in both the playing squad and the upgrade of rebuild of Old Trafford. It remains to be seen if Radcliffe's Ineos group will respond to the latest development. Talks with all parties are thought to be continuing. Should Radcliffe succeed, one of his proposals is to take a 50% share, which would lead to a gradual takeover that values the club at around 6 billion. So that's the bit I was looking for there. So effectively, Qatar's bid was around 5 billion. They've apparently significantly improved that bid, but it's still under what Sir Jim values the club. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, as we know, has ridiculously valued this club, because he's basically paying 3 billion for half of it. So he's valuing the club at 6, but he's only paying 3. So he's inflated the price to get hold of the club. I would say Al Thani's probably offered 5.5 billion now for the football club, somewhere around that. But the thing I would say about this is, where does it end? It's encouraging, it's exciting, but does it? If the Glazers want to stay, that doesn't help them stay. Sir Jim helps them stay. But where does it all end? It's 2.5 weeks since the final bids went in, and more bids are going in. And now it goes back to Sir Jim to see what he wants to do. And then maybe Al Thani does it again. It's just the process the Glazers have ran here with the Rain Group is despicable. It's despicable. And Roddy Pickering, it's despicable how they've just carried this on and on and on and on. The final bids were meant to be 2.5 weeks ago, and here we are 2.5 weeks later, 2 weeks from the end of June, and people are still putting bids in, which means the Glazers have got to look at the bid again for another couple of weeks. It's just, Fabrizio was right. He did say last Monday there'll be some news in the next 7 to 10 days, which I thought was very, very accurately predicted, and lo and behold, on day 8, we hear that Al Thani's going to put a final big offer in. Mark, do we really need this budget? Brighton didn't have 200 million, and look what they did with this team. I prefer going for the right players. Benny, very noble comment, but Brighton have got a decent CEO, director of football and scouts. We don't. Mark, the dream scenario for the Glazers is Sir Jim. He is their knight in shining armour. They will be leeching off our club in the background, and all the pressure of investing will be on someone else, says Kyron. And if true, don't think that will be enough to shift Joel and Avram, unfortunately, says Rory C. And yes, look, I think Rory makes a very good point. I think a lot of people are going to get excited about this 11th hour bid. But if Joel and Avram want to stay, it doesn't really matter what Al Thani offers, because Joel and Avram want to stay. I don't think this really moves the needle that much. I hope it does, but I don't think it does, because if Sir Jim is paying 3 billion for 50%, that means that the 4 Glazer siblings are getting around 750 million pounds each. How does that 5.5 billion from Al Thani break down for 100% of the club? It's a lesser share, isn't it? So I don't know the mechanicals of it. I mean, yeah, Sheikh Jassim's got the money to pay for the club right now, but I don't know. I'm still 50-50. That 11th hour bid doesn't really make me feel any more confident, because still it comes down to whether Joel and Avram want to go or not. If they don't want to go, there's not really an offer that Qatar can make. They've just been played. I don't think Qatar would put this in unless they have had a backroom insurance that they can get hold of the club, says Reese. Maybe. Very good point. Very good point. You don't bid on something that's not for sale. Avram walks out of Mayfair yesterday and we have an improved offer by Thani today. Coincidence? Maybe not. Kartik, I actually thought exactly the same thing. Remember last night we were talking about this, how Avram Glazer stayed at a Qatari-owned hotel in Mayfair, London yesterday. On a road trip and just came across a hotel called Staybridge, says Kevin. And Joshua Bowater says, if they 100% wanted to stay, surely they would have accepted Jim's offer already, says Joshua. Look, this is why I'm 50-50, Joshua and everybody, because I just don't know which way this is going to go. I think you can read it in many ways. Drag says the 5.5 billion is for 69%, but we've never had that clarified, mate. Because if they're paying 5.5 billion for 69%, that means you're valuing the whole club at about 7-8 billion. If 5.5 billion is 69% of something, then that means the 100% is around 8 billion. That's not true. Thani's paying 5. I've got something stuck in my throat. I've had it all day. I don't know what it is. It's very frustrating. Yeah, it's the maths on it don't make sense to me. And I did quite well at maths. I used to work in business, but it's always been that Thani was paying for the lot 100%. But that doesn't necessarily make sense, does it? So I don't know how it works. I really don't know how it works. I wish I did. Mark, by any chance, do you know where Sir Ratcliffe lives, says Danny? No, and I wouldn't tell you anyway. Jim and the Glazers keep the debts, so Adam says. And Rain Group only dealing with 69% of the sale, though, says Jay Walsh. Yeah, but they're not. I don't think that's what they're doing, mate. I really don't think that's what they're doing. Avram was in a Qatar hotel missing. Oh, okay, I can't read that, Paul. You can't, Mark. The Glazers can't ask the 30% they don't own, says Chris. I know, but this has never been made clear. And I don't want to get into business detail. But it's never been made clear whether Thani is offering 5.5 billion for the whole club or for 69%. Because if he's offering it, let me just explain this for idiots, right? It has to be for 100%, because if he's offering 69%, 5.5 billion, it blows Jim's offer out the water, because Jim's only offering 3 billion for half of it. Jim's offering 3 billion for 50%. Thani's offering 5.5 billion for 69%. It's only 19% more, and you're paying 2.5 billion more. That's never what's been said. Like, Sir Jim is valuing the club at 6 billion because he's paying 3 billion for 50%. Thani's offering 5.5 billion for 100%. So, you know, that's the truth. That's what it's always been reported of. It's never been reported that Thani is paying 5.5 billion for 69%. Because if he was, he'd be valuing the club at 8 billion for the other 31%, or more than that. So, you know, you've just got to go with you've just got to follow the facts, got to follow the news. And Thani's always been buying 100%. I don't know how that works, because do the New York Stock Exchange even want to be for sale? Look, it's an interesting development. You can't deny that. Just been broken by Mike Keegan that there's a seismic offer gone in from Qatar. 11th hour, take it or leave it. We believe it's around 5.5 billion. As Joshua said, surely you don't put an offer in like that unless you've had some encouragement that they'll go for it. But on the other hand, if Joel and Avram went to stay, maybe it won't be enough to make them take it. On the other hand, they're going to go back to Sir Jim and see what he wants to do. I mean, Jim's now got a chance to improve his offer as well. So, you know, how does he improve his offer? What does he do? Give the Glazers 25% or something like that? It doesn't make any sense, does it? So, yeah, interesting, very interesting indeed. He could counter offer, but I don't think he's got the money to do it. I don't know why this isn't working. Oh, for fuck's sake. This will be interesting. There we go. A company can buy back public shares and go private, says Maz. And Mark, the board will approve the total sale and will be a good buyout for the shareholders, like Elon buying Twitter, says Nelson. Also, Mark buying... Okay, got that one as well. What does the 11th hour bit mean, says Joshua? Nah, it's just a cliche. It's like squeaky bum time, isn't it? Which means you're nervous at the end of a football match. 11th hour just means it's a late bid. There's no relevancy to 11th. Like, it just means late. So similar to the final season of Succession, says Leo, and means last minute, says Benoit as well. So we've had this last minute bid coming in. I just saw Sir Jim at the Payday Loan Shop, says Rory. And Mark, is there a scenario, says Sumi, where the siblings say, sod off Avram, we want our payday, and Sheikh Jazim goes through? I don't know how Avram and Joel can outvote, says Sumi. Well, look, we'll have to wait and see. 5.5 cash with bank interest rate is 250 million a year, says Ali. Why would Qataris wait so long for an improved bid, says FPL Fozzie? Because they probably put an offer in. Well, I don't think that's a relevant comment, really. Well, obviously I respect it, but I don't. I mean, if you're in business, that it doesn't make any sense. If you want to buy a house and it's on the market for $1 million, and you put an offer in of 900,000 because you think you can get it for 900,000, and then someone offers 950, and you've got the money to pay $1 million, you might go in with $1 million. It's just like you try and get it for what you can, and then when you realise you're not going to get it for the price you want, you increase it to what you want. Mark, I've just done the maths, and if Thani is offering $5.5 billion for the full amount, the Glazers would get $3.8 billion for 69%, which is lower than Radcliffe. Yes, FIFA Crazy, you are right. This is what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. But if he's paying $5.5 billion for the whole club, what's $5.5 billion? It's $2.75 billion for 57%. If he's paying $5.5 billion for all of the club, that means half of $5.5 billion for 50% would be $2.75 billion. Now, apparently, Sir Jim's offering $3 billion for 50%. It's all complicated because Sir Jim's played a masterstroke. Because what Sir Jim's done is he can't afford all of it, so he's paying for half of it. And he's constructed this weird deal where I'll get rid of your siblings, but you can stay, and so can the New York Stock Exchange. But the New York Stock Exchange might say, well, we want out with the siblings, so we want Thani's bid. I don't know how it works. If you think about it like that, there's an offer on the table for 50% of the club from Sir Jim, but Joel and Avram can stay, and the New York Stock Exchange stay. And the siblings walk off with 700 million each. But then the New York Stock Exchange say, well, we want our 700 million now. And Thani's offering that up. So are you going to buy all of the club now, Sir Jim? I mean, look, one thing I would say, and I don't think it can happen, what if Sir Jim came back now and said, I'll buy the whole club for 6 billion? At least he's I mean, look, you probably still want Qatar, but at least he's buying the whole club. I would say to Sir Jim Radcliffe now, the only move you can make is buy the whole club. Buy the whole club. You solve all the problems then. People might not want you, but if you buy the whole club, it's Glazers out and it's a full sale. In that situation, I would say, look, we've just got to hope Sir Jim knows what he's doing. It's a full sale. I'm not against Sir Jim. I would prefer Super Wealth, but I'm not against Sir Jim if it's a full sale and the Glazers out. And I think some people have lost their way there. I think some of the treatment of Sir Jim Radcliffe is wrong. I think the anger and frustration I have for his bid is that he's keeping the Glazers and it's not a full sale. If he comes back now and says, I'll do a full sale, I still think the Super Wealth option of Qatar means a more secure future. But if Sir Jim's got this plan to be successful and he buys the whole club, I'd give it a go. I don't think he's going to do that because I don't think he's got the money. The Glazers played a blinder and got a bidding war. The problem is, I think this is it. If Qatar doesn't up it again, Sir Jim will still get it. Guess they'll only leave on the 6 bill, or is it 69%, says DK. I hope they changed and went for all the Glazers shares and then go for the other at a later date, says Tony. And you know what pisses me off, says Rory. All Thani has said is he'll do with the club while Sir Jim Radcliffe stays silent with no new debt. Where are his promises, says Rory. Yeah. Well, in business, you don't make promises you can't keep when you're buying something. So if you buy the pub down the road and you say you're going to get a Michelin star chef in, you're going to have a disco every Saturday night, a quiz night every Monday night, all the locals get excited, you open the bar and you do none of that, you're going to be out of business very quickly, because you can lie once you've got the club, but you can't make promises about what you're going to do with the club before you get it. We have financial fair play against us, plus we can sell like 10 players, so the budget can't be that tiny, says Nicholas. With Qatar taking on the 500 million debt and paying that off with the 6.5 billion, could that be them putting a 6 billion value on the club, says Rocky. And hi Mark, how was your day? Been and what have you had for dinner, says Mohammed. I had fish and chips. I had pie and chips, actually. The Glazers haven't behaved like owners who want the club. Their required investment, plus they won't have decision-making power, makes me think they go Qatar, says Abadan. Well, look, you can spin this around in your head as much as you like. The reality is, while we've been live on air, we've heard from Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail, he's been very good from the Al Thani side, that there's been a seismic 11th hour bid, final take it or leave it bid from Qatar. We believe it's around 5.5 billion. Now, there's a decision to be made. I think Joshua Bauwater made a good point that if you're going to put that bid in, there's got to be some encouragement that they'll accept it. Okay, so they've put that bid in. Now, if you're Joel and Avram, and I think they're the two here, it's not about the siblings now, I think this is about Joel and Avram. If you're Joel and Avram, you've got a decision to make. Are you adamant you want to stay, in which case you stay with Sir Jim, or are you thinking now's the time to go? Now, this is where it gets interesting, because you get the Sir Jim supporters saying, well, if Joel and Avram stay, he's going to get rid of them in 2 years anyway. Well, if that's going to happen, then surely Avram and Joel should just go now, because I don't see their shares being worth any more in 2 years' time. What are we going to do in the next 2 years that's going to blast those shares up in value? Super League's not going to happen in the next 2 years. We're not going to win the Champions League or the Premier League in the next 2 years. There's going to be a lot of investment, a lot of borrowing in the next 2 years. I don't see Joel and Avram's value going up in 2 years, so why not just walk away now? Unless you're being given power, which is something I suspect they are. Unless you're going to be on the board, unless you're staying longer than 2 years. Otherwise, you just take the money, wouldn't you? So it's going to be a very interesting period now, because Joel and Avram have got a good offer on the table to walk away that's going to be more than they get in 2 years' time. But is Sir Jim offering them more? And also, let's not forget, now this big bid's gone in from Al Thani, Joel and Avram, through the Rain Group, can go to Sir Jim and say, we won't accept it if you give us 30% and both of us a place on the board and voting rights. So more and more you lean towards Qatar again, because you know that Joel and Avram are going to say, well, we can take that, Sir Jim. If you really want us, give us more control and power, which Sir Jim can't do. I think Sir Jim's got to either put up or shut up. And what I mean by that is Sir Jim's response cannot be give more power to the Glazers. It's got to be buy them out completely. Go for a full sale. That's got to be Sir Jim's move now. I bet he won't, but that's what I would do. Glazers can only accept an offer that at least includes the New York Stock Exchange, because there will be shareholders that bought shares with the expectations of a full sale. They could accuse fraud if partial sale, says Leo. Mark, why is it that some YouTubers like don't want to engage in healthy debate when called out? I called him out on Twitter and he blocked me, says Rahul. I've got no interest in them, mate. They're all fake, really. How can you operate in this space and then be terrified of having a debate with people? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like a one-way street, isn't it? I think it totally depends on whether Joel and Avram want to stay, but kudos to Al Thani. Just shows how determined he is to get the club. Says Rashi. Yeah, I'm still 50-50 on this, by the way. I'm just ready for them to make a choice so we can move on with life. I'm beyond over this and over them. Go if you're going, stay if you're staying, says Milverton Richards. I agree. I think we've got to a point now where, one thing that I would say frustrates me is the fact that there is there's no timeline again, is there? I mean, one of the bad things about Al Thani doing this bid, and a lot of people would say that there isn't. I'm with you, Ladios. I don't. There is a bad side to this bid, is that even if it's going to be accepted, we've probably got another period of time where they consider it. So how long are they going to take to consider it? They've got to go back to Sir Jim and give him an opportunity to react. I think we could be waiting another We could be waiting another week or two now. Qatar is matching Radcliffe bid through cash. Having cash at these interests, it can earn 5% rate a year, which equals 6.25 billion, give or take, says Ali. I think that's probably one of the most intelligent comments we've had tonight. And we're dealing with things here that many of us don't think about when we're thinking about football. But what a comment that is by Ali. Make sure you smash a like on the video for Ali. Just smash a like on the video anyway. But that's a great point. That's a very good point. If I have a mortgage... Sorry, if Sir Jim is buying the club on a loan, it's like a transfer, isn't it? If I buy Kim Min-jae from Napoli this summer for 50 million quid, but I pay it to Napoli over the next 4 years, they get 42.5. They get 12.5 million over the next 4 years. Well, 12.5 million comes in year one, and you're earning interest off that 12.5 million. It's not as much as if I give you 45 million now. You might be getting 50 million over 4 years, but I'm giving you 45 million now that can go straight into your bank and you'll earn more interest. So there are things like that at play. And of course, Thani's always said he'll pay the money now. A worry I have now is Joel and Avram leverage this offer to negotiate more power. Exactly, Joshua. I was just talking about that. If Sir Jim does that, we're in a worse position, aren't we? That's what I mean. This offer, as exciting as it is, it could make things worse. It could be a reason for Joel and Avram to say to Sir Jim, we want more power. And if Jim's desperate, he might give it. Thani has ludicrous wealth. If he really wanted it, he'd just pull his Manscaped out and put it on the table and walk away with the club, says Cyber. Ridiculous thought, but there we go. So with this 11th hour bid, could things now move quicker? No, I don't think it does, Simon. I don't. I think it could move slower. I think they might have been who knows, Thursday they might have been announcing they're going to do a deal with Sir Jim. Now it's going to go back and forward again. Maybe they do announce they're going to do a deal with Qatar, but it takes 2 or 3 weeks. I agree on most of things you say, but 100 million budget for this summer is just bullshit. No matter what owner we get, it would be 250 million. Nabil, I think you've just spoken out your arse. Let your mouth talk. Didn't David Ornstein say that the Glazers' shares are worth 10 times voting rights compared to the Beast? It's completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Even I would admit Sir Jim Radcliffe is not going to buy 50% of the club and not have voting rights as part of the contract. So I wouldn't even listen. David Ornstein's right in relation to the current voting rights, but nobody's going to buy half the club and let the Glazers have more voting rights with 20%. That wouldn't happen. Hi, Mark. The Sheikh should just do a deal. 80% Qatar, 20% the Glazers with an option for a 3-year Glazer exit. Would you get the deal done faster? I don't know, Ryle. You know what? I'm not going to be a hypocrite. If Qatar do a deal with the Glazers and keep them in place 20%, I'll moan about it because it's Glazers out, full sail. You can't be a hypocrite about this. I can't say, no, it's not. I don't like Sir Jim's bid because he's doing it, and then I'll go, oh, it's all right for Qatar. It's full sail, get out. Anybody who keeps them is an enemy of the club. £5 billion equals $6 billion US. $1 billion per sibling, what they wanted the whole time. Club won't be worth that much in 3 to 5 years, even with Ineos. Qatar offer is better, says Kevin. Kevin, they only own 69%, so your maths will be wrong on that. There's 31% held by the stock exchange. So look, a lot of people getting dusting off their old GCSE qualifications here, trying to figure things out. But the bottom line is, the simple answer is, there has been a seismic final offer from Qatar today to try and grab Manchester United from the Glazers. Will it be enough? Around $5.5 billion? I don't know. Will it delay things? Yes. They've got to go back to Sir Jim. They've got to consider it. So I think we're looking at at least another week. I don't see how they're going to speed this up when they've been so slow since November. So I think we might be in for a position of another period of waiting around, which worries me because I don't care whether you're Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Elon Musk or Superman. If you buy Man United at the end of June and you've got money, most of the good targets will be gone. Mark, the board will approve the total sale and it'll be a good buyout for the shareholders, like Elon buying Twitter, says Nelson. Somebody did just say, Mark, where do you stand on this sale? I think I've stood on firm concrete the whole time. I stand on full sale, Glazer's gone, and my ideal owner is Super Wealth. I'm not comfortable with that, but that's football. Look at Man City. They're successful because they've been run well with a lot of money. They were a mid to low level Premier League club that got bought by Abu Dhabi, run well, and dominate the English game. Newcastle are heading that way. If you want to compete with them, you need to do the same. We need Super Wealth, whether I like it or not, and I don't like it. I don't like that model, but by turning my back on it, I'm basically saying it's okay for United to never be successful again. We will not be successful without it. So Super Wealth is what I've always said, and a full sale with the Glazers out has to be that option as well. So of course, by process of elimination, there is only one bid that fits my profile. I don't think Qatar's ever been what I wanted. I think they fit my rules. Full sale, Glazers out, Super Wealth. There's only one horse in that race. So, of course, my preferred bidder is Thani. But I'm not the Glazers. So, you know, the longer this goes on, I feel like the Glazers are not being clever, but truly don't know what they're doing, says Stephen. Well, we've discussed that a little bit, Stephen, before, haven't we? It doesn't come across like they really know what they want. The new offer is better for the other four siblings as well, says Ted. It could be. I can't take much more of this, says Simon. As I just said there, even if Thani gets hold of the club at the end of June, and that still would be very, very quickly, what's going to be left at the end of June in the window? I think the Glazers have severely messed up this summer transfer window for us already, whatever happens. Glazers and the rat out, Qatar in, stop destroying our dreams. We the fans don't deserve this, says Dave Tiffin. Let me just have a quick look if there's anything else coming in. I mean, it's a very significant story in itself from Thani, from Mike Keegan, but we might have some added bits here. A lot of people saying which way do you think it will go? It doesn't really matter what I think or you think. It really doesn't, because it will come down to what the Glazers think and what the Glazers want to do. I think that both are confident and always have been confident and probably still will be confident. I'm just doing some quick maths here, and I think that the Sir Jim deal works out at more money for the Glazers, because he's giving them $3 billion for 50%, whereas Thani is giving them $2.75 billion for 50% because his offer is $5.5 billion. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I'm 50-50 on it. I'd be offering $6 billion with a 24-hour acceptance, or it'll be withdrawn, says Gareth. I'm going to my first United match at Murrayfield for pre-season match against Lyon before they go to USA. I hope to get to see improvement from this season, says Jack. Thank you, Jack. And the deal is being delayed on purpose by the Glazers. They just want to dry us out and completely squander our transfer window, says SD. Only the Qatar bid undoes the damage the Glazers have done to the club, says Cathal. Qatar clearing the debt at 500 million and the bid around 5.5 billion. It reaches the 6 billion, which the Glazers always want, says Josh. And whatever happens, yeah, but the Glazers don't give a shit about the debt being cleared because it doesn't benefit them, does it? Whatever happens, your courage of this has been first class. Well done to all of the United stands, says Simon. Well, I've said it before. I think there's a lot of people out there that have played both sides the whole lot. Other fan channels, other websites, ex-players, journalists. You know, I read a lot. I respect some of those people, but I think a lot of them have spent their time, you know, sitting on the fence playing both sides. I don't believe in that. I think if you've got an opinion, then you should share it, as long as it's as long as you've thought it through. And I think that, it's to me it's very obvious that it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Share your opinion, have your say. That's what we're here for, isn't it? And that's what we're going to do. So, it's... It's very easy to do when you narrow it down to how you feel. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of people have fallen into the trap of saying, why United fans begging for Qatar? And it's not. It's not about begging for Qatar. It's about the last 8 years or 7 years we've been doing the United stand, because that's visually there for everybody to go back and check. We've always said Glazers out, full sail. That's what everyone in the fan base has said. And there's only one, as somebody said a few minutes ago, there's only one offer on the table that represents clearance of the debt, investment in the team, investment in the infrastructure, and investment in the stadium instantly. Like the minute they get the club, the debt's gone. We'll start working on the stadium, we'll start on the infrastructure, and we'll start buying players. That's something that doesn't get reported a lot. Like, these things are going to happen straight away. It's instant liquidity into the club. It's instant funds into the club from the day they get hold of it. The same as what's happened at Man City. The same at what happened at Newcastle. The same as what happened at PSG. It doesn't get reported enough because it doesn't fit the rhetoric of so-called journalists who are meant to... journalism for me is seeking out the truth. It's not seeking out agenda. And nobody writes about this because it doesn't fit their agenda. But whether you like Al Thani and the Qatar bid or not, it does represent a positive for the club. And there is a positive in the club for the club, even if you think that the ownership model is immoral or evil or whatever it is, people have a problem with it. There is a positive for the club because the debt goes. That's a positive. There's a positive for the club because the stadium starts being worked on now, which is a positive. There is a positive for Ten Hag because he starts getting transfers in and out because he's got owners that will allow it to happen. And there's a positive for the club's infrastructure because that starts to get spent on. These things instantly start happening the minute Al Thani gets hold of the club. When Sir Jim gets hold of the club, we've got no detail other than no new debt will be added. So the debt won't be cleared, no new debt will be added. So presumably we're still going to be in debt, so the debt will be there. There's no timeline on how long the stadium's going to take. There's no timeline on what will be available to spend for players or infrastructure, and the Glazers will still be here. The contrasts between instant liquidity and solving the damage and no timeline and the damage is still going to be there, that's the contrast. Forget Al Thani's, forget Sir Jim. You're talking about what's best for the club. One option clearly is best for the club. The other option is clearly a jump into the unknown. Sir Jim Radcliffe's passport better than Qatar and Man United for top Reds, says Zayn. And cash up front could be too hard for greedy Glazers to turn down, says Simon. And Joshua Bowater, I found it interesting that Ogden said to Adam that the Qatari representatives were told not to return home until the deal was done. I said it was very interesting. You're right. It's a very good interview. In fact, I would urge people to watch that interview this afternoon with Mark Ogden because it becomes more relevant now. It's on our homepage. Go and watch it after this if you've got time. And also, cash up front could be too hard for greedy Glazers to turn down. Yeah, well, this is what I've just seen this on Twitter, right? So I've just seen this on Twitter. Manchester United, basically, the Sir Jim offer to the Glazer siblings is worth more because he's only buying their share and it's a little bit more than what Al Thani's whole offer is. But do they get that money straight away with Sir Jim? Is that money ready to go in their bank account straight away, or is it going to be paid in instalments? Because Al Thani's just going to wire it straight into your bank account. So who knows? And look, as I said before, if somebody says to you, I'll give you £100 million over the next 5 years, and then I say, well, I'll give you £90 million now, you should take my offer. Because you won't have the 100 million for 5 years. You'll get 20 each year. You'll have 90 million from me now. Whack it in a high interest account. You'll probably earn more than that over 5 years to go beyond what that 100 million is going to be. So these things we don't have the detail on, but it can be a big impact. Glazers 69% of 5.5 billion is 3.7 billion, so more than Sir Jim's bid. Mark, what? Jordan, Glazers 69% of 5 billion. That doesn't even make any sense, because what does that even mean? God, you know when people think they're a bloody Carol Vorderman, like they're throwing numbers at me, then they're not even thinking about it. Apparently there's a tweet just coming in from Fabrizio. Can I just say, this is ridiculous. We are only 3 subscribers away from 649,000. So if you've not subscribed to the United Stand, I don't know why. It's free. Bottom right hand corner. Please click it and subscribe. It's going to be a massive summer no matter what, with transfer news and obviously sale news as well. So please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner. Let's have a quick look at what Fabrizio's got to say. Apparently he's just done a tweet. Thanks everyone who's tuning in tonight. Breaking news, as we know. Thanks for subscribing, Bear, as well. So let's have a look what Fabrizio is saying. Fabrizio. Sheikh Jassim has made an improved bid for Man United. 100% clear the debt, including separate fund for solely club and community, is my understanding, says Jamie Jackson. Okay, somebody just said here. Yeah, I think people are just being way too literal on the valuations, and they're not realising things like being paid the money instantly has a massive impact on being paid if you're being paid it gradually. Let's have a look what Fabrizio says. I'll tell you what, I'm very glad I didn't do the Milan derby now. Okay, yeah, so Fabrizio says, Sheikh Jassim has now made an increased bid. As always, it's for 100% of Manchester United. We'll clear all the debt and include a separate fund directed solely at the club and community. Sources guarantee this is significant increase over the initial proposal. Well, you know what? We've probably not said this yet, and it's true. It just shows you how much they want Manchester United as well. Again, you should clip this actually, because I get clipped up for the wrong sort of stuff. Whether you're pro Sir Jim or you're pro Qatar or you're pro Thani or you're pro Ineos or however you want to look at it, let's look at it factually. Who wants Manchester United more? The guy that's always said he wants 100% and spent and offered 5 billion for it and has now probably gone up to 5.5 billion, or the guy that is only buying half of it and is keeping Joel and Avram in place? There's only one person who really wants to buy this football club, and is constantly showing their desire to buy this football club, and that is Al Thani. Whether you like it or not, there's only one person who is trying to buy all of this football club, who will clear the debt, who will spend the money that needs to be spent to put right the damage of the Glazers, and every bid has been for 100% of the club. And yet he's competing with somebody that will only buy half of it and will keep Joel and Avram in place and will not reveal what his plans are. He won't clear the debts. We don't know what he's going to do with the infrastructure. He's just going to put the Manchester back in Manchester. You know, there is one person that wants to buy this club and has continually evidenced their desire to buy this football club. There is one person that wants the Glazers out and a full sale. Yet he gets bad press. So, you know, I don't know which way it's going to go. I would like to think Sir Jim would go, let's forget all this Glazers stuff. Let's forget everything. Let's just go for the full club. Because a full sale is what we want as fans. But it is all about the money. It is all about what's best for the Glazers. We know that. There's one person, though, that wants to buy it all. And Duzan says it's spot on. And I think sometimes you have to cut through the crap. This is not 2 bids that are equal. This is one bid doing a deal with the Glazers because they don't want to buy all of the club. And it's one bid trying to buy all of the club. And that's what we have. It's as simple as that. I've read the tweet by Fabrizio, unless there's a new one coming in. I think I've just read it. yeah, we've done that one. Like it makes me feel very nervous. I think in summary, people are getting lost in the maths. My suspicion is that because Al Thani's buying all of the club and he's clearing the debt, his value to the Glazers individually will be less than what Sir Jim is offering. But remember, Sir Jim is only paying off 4 siblings. Al Thani is paying off 4 siblings, Joel and Avram, and the New York Stock Exchange. So, yeah, the 4 siblings will get less. Joel and Avram won't get a stake in the club. But Al Thani is offering it for all of the club. Sir Jim is only paying for 4 siblings. So, you know, at the end of the day, the people on Twitter who want Sir Jim and are saying, well, that bid won't be enough because it's not enough. Well, yeah, you're probably right, because ultimately this is about what's best for the Glazers. But I personally think, well, we all know the Qatar deal is the better deal for the fans and the club. Of course it is. Of course it is. You've got a situation where the whole club is under new ownership with no debt, or you've got a situation where the club is half owned by Sir Jim, the Glazers are still there, and so is the New York Stock Exchange. We all know what bid's best for the club. Whether you like it or not, it is Al Thani. But what's best for the Glazers is what's going to be the deciding factor here. How powerful is the New York Stock Exchange in this? We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. What does put the Manchester back in Manchester United mean? It sounds very corny, says Jack. I don't know. It sounds like a bad political party line for an election, doesn't it? Sunderland losing on aggregate, says Joshua Bowater. I've not even looked at the football because we've been talking about this. But I think overarching over all of this is delay. There will be some people out there that were hoping that we were going to get a decision this week. I think that if you look at the fact that we've had 3 bidding processes from January to the end of April, each bid on average is taking about a month to analyse. So we'll have to wait and see. MF says, why do other channels promote Sir Jim over Jazim? I don't watch anybody else, mate. I only from a United point of view, I only interact with our community. I don't watch any other channels, so I don't know. You know, you'd have to tell me on that one. If Jim wins, the contract will probably mean that the Glazers own basically the club, but Jim is going to be the investor, so that takeover be an investor, says Nathan Allen. Shivan says the delay is going to cost us in the long run, no matter who gets the club. And that's a very brave and accurate comment. I think we're already in the point of no return anyway. I think even if Al Thani gets hold of the club, the summer transfer window... Well, look, if you want Mawani, he's going to Bayern. If you want Osman, he's probably going to Chelsea or PSG. If you wanted Declan Rice, he's going to go to Arsenal. If you wanted Bellingham, he's already going to Real Madrid. If you want McAllister, he's probably going to go to Liverpool. The list goes on and on. You know, you can probably get to 10 targets that we might have been interested in that we can't get because they're already advanced with other clubs because we're still sorting a sale out. And that list's going to keep growing, by the way. It might be McAllister, Rice, Bellingham, Mawani, Osman now. In a couple of weeks, you'll add another 5 players on there. You know, maybe Casido will be next. Maybe Ramos. You know, they'll all just start being ticked off because Chelsea were the victim of this last year. They had their sale done, but they couldn't start spending money until July. And that's why they were desperately overpaying and doing silly deals for people. And they ultimately didn't get a striker. Mario Franco says, I just hope the Glazers have been waiting for this bid and some sort of agreement can be made for the new owner to invest. I've said this so many times. Mario, thank you very much for your super chat. I've said this so many times, haven't I? And thanks everyone who's subscribing, by the way. I think we've hit 649,000, so thanks for subscribing. We were 3 away. I've been saying this for a while, that, and I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, I know what I was going to say now. I've been saying this for a while, Mario. I've been saying this for a while as well. That this whole sale depends on the stance of the Glazers. Did they go into this sale process wanting to sell the club? Or did they go into this sale process wanting to get an investor? and that will be the thing that decides that's what's going to decide it. Which way did they want to go? Did they want to sell the club, or did they want an investor? And if they wanted to sell the club, then it's probably going to end up in the hands of Qatar. And if they wanted an investor, it's probably going to end up with Sajim. This is why I'm 50-50 on it now, because I don't know which way they were going there. I can sell myself that they're going to sell the club, because I can go, wow, look, they own Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can take the NFL to Qatar, like the World Cup. There's loads of money to be made there. They don't even care about Man United. They do care about their NFL team. You know, there's loads of ways that they can make money with the NFL team now. Qatar opens a lot of doors. But Sajim keeps Joel and Avram there if they want to stay. And they've got a plan for a Super League to make money. Never forget, Manchester United to the Glazers is a money-making machine. If Joel and Avram are staying, it's because they think they can make more money out of the club, which is terrifying. If we can't get Osman, could we get Vlahovic instead? Slightly cheaper unless Juventus want to screw us over, says, I don't know who said that. It was Jack. We can't get anybody until we've been bought, mate. It might take a bid of 6 or 7 billion to guarantee Qatar to become our new owners, says Tom. They're not going to bid that. They won't bid that. I think that when Mike Keegan says it's a final offer, I don't think Qatar, the way they operate in business, will say it's a final offer and then go in with another offer. I just don't think that's how they're going to work. We did talk about Fabrizio's tweet 12 minutes ago when it came out. I often wonder about the dynamics of the live chat, on how they listen and don't really get anything. But yeah, look, I think in summary, it's exciting that the final bid's gone in, because he probably had no chance if he didn't do it. So it's exciting that the final bid's gone in. Will it be enough? I don't know. It depends whether they want to sell or whether they want investment. If it's investment, it will be Sajim. If they want to sell, it will be Thani. I think one thing I will say is that we're probably looking at another week, 2 weeks before we find anything out now, because when that bid goes in, they have to assess it, and they've also got to wait for Sajim to react. So I think the next story that comes out is what is Sajim going to do, and I think that's where my mind wandered straight away. We know this 11th hour bid's gone in. We know the Glazers will go back to Sajim, even if they don't want to accept the new offer. You still go back to Sajim and say, look, you know he's put an offer in. What are you going to do? It terrifies me what Sajim can do, because Sajim is already doing something he shouldn't do. He's already giving 20% to the Glazers, and he's only buying half of the club. If he's now got to come up with a better offer, what is it? 25% goes to the Glazers, spot on the board, stay for 10 years. Like, what can he offer better than what he's already offering? As I say, I'd rather Sajim went and spoke to Ineos and said, let's buy the whole club, can I borrow it? I think that phrase is Sajim's alternative way to say make America great again, make United great again, says the genius knows. But I think, as I say, I think we might be a couple of weeks waiting to see what's going to happen now. I guess we'll wait and see. I've already reported it, mate. You tweeted it. If I was Thani, I'd offer 10 billion. Oh, yeah. Only 4 billion over value. Well, it's 4 billion over what the Glazers want. With a clause to kick Joel and Avram in the nuts, they'd probably take it as well, says Nate. Oh, sorry, I missed that bit. Okay, look, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Really interesting show. I may end up doing the first late show of the summer. We do late shows in the summer if there's significant news, so we may get a late show. But for now, it's been a cracking show spending it with you. It is an update, but I think we might be waiting for a few more updates now. It is dragging on. I think the transfer window is going to be a casualty of everything that's going on. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone who subscribed. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. Smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you soon.